Hey guys, want to bring you another YouTube video. So this is actually, kind of recap of round one and some of my reactions and surprises. So there was six quarterbacks drafted in the first 12 picks. That is a new one. That's never happened. And then the first 14 players were all drafted were offensive players. So that is something new. Especially, I think the reason why was because those quarterbacks that went very, very early. One of my biggest surprises was, the Giants had an opportunity to draft Penix, Nix, or J.J. McCarthy, and they didn't have to trade up or anything. There was rumors that the Giants were really interested in getting their next quarterback to potentially eventually replace Daniel Jones. Well, obviously that didn't happen, but it's was a shocker. But then they at least got a weapon to help for the future quarterback, I think, because I don't think Daniel Jones is a long term solution, but at least they might have a playmaker there. So that could help, just like the Bears route, where they built all these players, got a lot of players on the offense that's going to potentially help with their quarterback of the future, which ended up being Caleb Williams. No surprise there. I think with the weapons that they got, Justin Fields probably would have been beneficial with all that. But I really like what the Bears did, and I think their future on the offensive side is pretty good. Caleb Williams has lots of help, so this should really help him to propel to be pretty good. Um, let's see what else happened. Falcons. Next surprise was the Falcons drafting a quarterback with the eighth pick with Penix Jr. Why would you sign Kirk Cousins 4 years, 180 million, and then draft the successor? Even the timeline doesn't make sense because then you have Cousins. If he does make it all 4 years, then you're gonna have an issue with what's his name, with Penix uh, on the 5th year option. So the timeline doesn't make sense unless there's something they're concerned about with Kirk Cousins on his injury. So that's the only thing I could think of. But that that started causing some of these other ripple effects. That's when the Vikings traded up to get J.J. McCarthy. Then the next one was Denver picking Knicks. With Bo Nix, they drafted. I guess, Sean Payne thought he reminded him of Drew Brees. So I don't know if that's true, but that's an interesting pick. Then I would say the next thing that was very interesting to me was the Bills and Chiefs trading. Bills kept trading down, and I thought it's weird because they need a receiver, and the Chiefs, I felt like, got richer because you have Rasheed Rice with potential legal trouble, could be suspended, don't know yet. The fallout on that, and now they got another receiver that is pretty cheap and will help Patrick Mahomes. And so with Xavier Worthy, fast wide receiver, don't know how he's going to be used, but it just reminds me of Deshaun Jackson in that way, how fast he is. So maybe that's one way they could try to use him. And so, because obviously John Ross, I believe he was one of the fastest ones too with the Bengals, didn't last that long. So, but Xavier Worthy, I think because of his speed, if he could bulk up a little bit more, could probably be like Tyreek 2.0, as long as he doesn't get hurt or anything like that. And if he gets on the edges, it's over. The Niners gained Ricky Pearsall. that was a little bit surprising for me because I thought they could have used more on the offensive line or D line or even cornerback help, especially O line if there was anyone that they thought higher. Because even I would prefer if they could have traded up to get one of those premiers because Trent Williams is getting up there. So, um, the reason why I'm a little surprised is also you have three good wide receivers. I think Debo, Ayuk, and then um, Jennings, and so you got a fourth wide receiver, and we still have like Ronnie Bell. I kind of like Ronnie Bell too, a little bit smaller size, but um, and then I don't know how this is going to work unless this is supposed to be the replacement for Brandon Ayuk. That's the only thing I could think of. Definitely, he has great hands from what I could tell and remember watching some of the highlights. So that's the only thing I could think of. And I know Jennings is on 1 year, so I'm thinking maybe he is going to be the eventual replacement or he's going to get some playing time. But I thought there's a lot of wide receivers that you could get in the later rounds. Like I would prefer someone cheap, like those bloodline from those families. Like there's Owen's son, Terrell Owen's son, Jerry Rice's son, and then Luke McCaffrey brother, and then there's even Frank Gore's son as a running back. I could see them trying to get one of those guys in the later rounds. So I thought that could be a cheaper option down the road that way. And then the next surprise was the Bills trading out again of the first round, and the Panthers ended up drafting Xavier Leggett, and I thought Leggett, I think he's the second South Carolina wide receiver to ever get drafted, just like Debo. So hopefully the Bills didn't like Xavier Worthy or Xavier Leggett, and I'm not sure if maybe they have Ricky Pearsall, but I know there's a lot of good wide receivers. There's potential that they could still get one tomorrow. They are picking first in the second round, but those were my biggest takeaways. Let me know what you think. Surprises, some of the trades, but yeah, I thought it was very entertaining. Detroit did a pretty good job. There was 275,000 on the first night. 275,000 people there. I thought looking at the aerial view, you could definitely tell there was a lot of people there. Especially when I went to the Vegas draft on night 2. I know probably it wasn't as, like I said, being where the draft was at Vegas, you couldn't fit probably 275,000 people. But in Detroit, they definitely had bigger space to try to fit as many people. So they definitely broke the record. Roger Goodell mentioned it. Let's see if they could break the all-time record for the next 2 more days to see if they could hold those records. So again, let me know what you think. Whoever is your favorite team, did you like what your team did? Overall, I'm okay with the pick. I knew that we may have to get a receiver. I didn't know we're going to try the first round, which kind of makes me concerned. I think Brandon Ayuk days could be gone, or Debo. So maybe they'll try to make Ayuk play his final year and then trade Brandon or Debo next year. So because you can't really pay 2 wide receivers $50 million total at least, especially with Ramon St. Brown signing that big wide receiver contract. That kind of resets the market, and I think Ayuk is probably looking for like 30 plus million. I don't see how you're going to be able to afford that, unless, like I said, if you're going to be able to get rid of Debo, especially you got to pay Brock Purdy next year. I think this is like the Bulls version of the Last Dance for the Niners. I think this is their way of you got to go all in at this point to try your last chance before the Brock Purdy contract kicks in, because you're probably going to have to be like the Chiefs route where if you're paying Brock Purdy, you're going to have to get some cheap wide receivers, a good tight end, which we have, but he's getting older with George Kittle. Running game needs to be good, and then offensive line to help with Brock Purdy going forward that way. So this may help with Ricky's drafting Ricky. So again, let me know what your team did. Are you happy with them? Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so, and together we could build better tomorrow. Thanks.